This Friday, Jamie Lee Curtis and Lindsay Lohan are back to switch things up in Disney's Freakier Friday.
Totally. Yes.
It's an absolute riot.
Woo!
And the only movie that can be described as
So much weirder than the last time.
What last time?
it's the frequel
You ready?
we've been waiting for.
That absolutely slays.
What deeply out-of-touch old person came up with that?
You did.
Wow.
Don't miss the comedy event of the summer for all ages. Disney's Freakier Friday in theaters this Friday. Get tickets now. Rated PG. Parental guidance suggested.
It's Wednesday Addams. I see you're trying to distract yourself from your own banal thoughts. Let me help. Here's a recording thing made of my latest root canal.
Wednesday, Season 2, begins August 6th, only on Netflix.
Good night, itchy eyes. Good night, sudden sneeze. Good night to your symptoms of allergies. Xyzal is the allergy medicine you take before bed. It provides powerful relief while you rest your head. Not just all night, but all the next day. Xyzal keeps working, keeping allergies at bay. And without those annoying symptoms disturbing your rest, you can wake up the next morning feeling your absolute best. Remember, be wise all. Take Xyzal. At night.
Pie in the Sky Media. This series contains adult language and descriptions of graphic violence throughout. Listener discretion is advised.
They rescued her from a house where she had called 911 from the house. She was trying to describe where she was, but she didn't know where she was. She knew she was near a laundromat, that she was in a home. Our officers are familiar with the two side-by-side homes that look similar, but they're boarded up. It doesn't even look like you can access them.
911, what is the address to your emergency?
4th Street laundromat. I've been posted.
Where's she at now?
Asleep. I'm in the bedroom with them.
Is there any way you can get out of the building?
I don't know without waking him, and I'm scared.
Does he have a weapon?
He's got a taser.
Are you tied up now?
Yeah, but I kind of freed myself.
September 13th, 2016. This call came into the 911 dispatch center early in the morning at around 6 a.m., and a woman is whispering for her life. She says she's been abducted, that she's being held captive in an abandoned house near a laundromat in Ashland, Ohio. When asked, "Do you know your abductor?"
Who abducted you?
Sean, great.
Where's she at now?
In the bedroom.
In what bedroom?
There's two houses right by the laundry street, and it's in one of those houses.
But you're at the laundromat?
No, I'm in the bedroom with them.
What color is the house? If I'm looking at the laundromat, which way is it?
If you're looking within the laundromat, it's one on the left of the two.
You don't know what color the house is?
No, please hurry.
The woman explains that she's been able to free herself. She sounds as if she can barely believe it herself, that she was tied to a bed where she'd been bound for the last 3 days, that her abductor is still sleeping beside her. Her words may be hard to hear. It's crystal clear that her fear is palpable, terrified that she'll wake up her abductor, every woman's worst nightmare, being kidnapped, repeatedly raped and assaulted for days, and knowing that no one knows where you are.
Is there any way you can get out of the building?
I don't know without waking him, and I'm scared.
Is there a bathroom in the house?
Well, his bedroom is closed, and he made it so it would make noise.
If you told me I had to go to the bathroom, he would do something to you?
Yeah, because he had me tied up. Oh, shit. Oh, shit, I woke him up.
Just set the phone down.
There's a deafening silence on the other end of the phone for 4 minutes. What the operator doesn't know is that the woman put the phone down for a second, and when she went to pick it back up, she accidentally grabbed her abductor's taser that was right next to the bed. The taser had been something he'd used to instill even more fear.
Are you still there?
I'm still okay.
She whisper breathes. How much longer? What the woman doesn't know is that Ashland police have been dispatched out to the street, that they found the laundromat that she had described, even the dilapidated home that's yellow with boarded up windows. But as the officers walk around the property, there just doesn't seem to appear to be anything out of the ordinary. Aside from it being an abandoned home, they wonder if dispatch had sent them to the wrong address, or worse yet, was this a hoax? But something nags at one of the officers, and he turns back around, inexplicably drawn to a back door. It's very quiet.
Something was telling him to go back to a particular door on one of the two homes. So he walks back towards the side of the house in the back, and he looks up and sees a hand on the window.
Welcome back to Criminal Mischief with Carolyn and Brandon. You're listening to episode 99, House of Horrors.
I'm Kim Major, and I'm a former detective here in the state of Ohio.
Kim is also the co-author of A Hunger to Kill, which is a book about her work on this case.
I think I got my police commission in 1991, so it's been a long time as a police officer and a long time as a detective. I've specialized in sex offenses, violent crime, crime against children, so I've had thousands of cases over the course of my career and focusing in those categories for the most part.
I mean, that's a really hard road to go. I know that from your bio, you are a parent, and I mean, that's a lot of hard stuff to look at. What made you decide? What's your motivating factor to go into that?
I think initially, like when I started college, I went from a major in psychology to social work, and I felt out of place, a little out of place. And then I landed myself in criminal justice, and I felt like I was home. I've always felt like if I was going to spend a significant amount of my day doing anything, I wanted it to be something worthwhile.
One thing you should know about Kim is that as a detective, she's extremely intuitive, valuing the art and science of good communication as a way to gain someone's trust in an interview and during interrogations.
I have always felt like it's so critical getting a victim to talk in the first place. And it's so critical to be able to talk someone into confessing to something they did that they've held with them for so long. So that's always been an interest for me, and communications has been an interest.
Kim says as a young female officer starting out in the early 90s, savvy and compassionate communication wasn't a weapon or a tool that was standard issue in her police duty belt.
Just a quick question, just because I'm curious. What made you feel like psychology, being a psychiatrist, I'm imagining like a counselor, didn't feel like a right fit, whereas law enforcement felt like a fit for you? What was the difference?
I think it's that frontline piece. Being, I saw such a disconnect with victims who don't want to talk in the first place. So we don't have a case if we don't have a victim, so we don't have the corpus delicti in a crime, or we don't have you just see a weakness sometimes in getting people to confess to something. So confessions are the gold standard. They still are. So I found that interesting, and I always have from internships in college, probably from that moment, from conducting internships where I was interviewing offenders. I felt like, I wonder what else is in there. I wonder what they didn't say. And it ignited something in me. And I believe my initial internship was when I was a psychology major. It started then, where I thought, wow, and I may be punitive. I may be somewhat punitive. I believe in accountability. So I felt like it fit. And I like being comprehensive, being the one that gets to put the case together. So I interview all my own victims. I forensic interview, which gives me a crazy good edge in a suspect interview because I know what happened. I know how I ask the questions. So it gives me an edge when I interview an offender, and it's worked for me.
It sounds like, just from what you said, like your career started in the early 90s. So you really were at the forefront of, we know now a rape survivor isn't going to feel comfortable talking to a hard-nosed cop, probably, right? Like there needs to be that sensitivity that maybe wasn't there back in the day. And now we know this is standard practice. Like so much has changed since the early 90s. I feel like you kind of saw that before maybe other people saw the value in that, and how it not only is good for the person who's, just survived this horrific assault, but it's actually good for the investigation to have as much information as you possibly have to then go to that suspect and use that to your advantage to get him to confess.
That's spot on. I couldn't have said it better.
Which is all to say, Kim was the perfect detective to receive that early morning call on September 13th, 2016.
So when I got called in that morning, I was getting ready for work when I got called by my captain, and I was in the shower. My phone rang two times. 2 calls came through. I knew my kids and my husband were home, so I wasn't overly concerned about who was trying to call me that morning. Then I heard a text, and so I cut my shower short, jumped out, and I looked on my phone. I could see it was the captain. And when I called him, he kind of gruffed at me and said, 2 calls and a text. And I said, I was in the shower. And he said, well, I need you in here. He explained that he had a victim who had been held captive, who had been rescued from Sean Great. I had never heard his name. And he told me to come in, and I needed to interview this victim.
That morning, driving through the city of Ashland was just like any other Tuesday in a town that she loves.
I feel like it's my town. I feel like every kid in this community is mine. People tease me about it. The town is good to law enforcement here. We feel like we're in a parade all day long. The people are good to us. We're good to them. We've earned their love, and they're good to us. So our town is middle America. We're an hour between Cleveland and Columbus, Ohio, right off the interstate. Factories are long gone. Many factories are long gone in this area, and all of Middle America, this part of America, it's the same way. But we were so on the move for revitalization or coming up with new ways to move forward. So we have a close-knit community, lots of churches, lots of community events. A balloon fest that is known nationwide. We have a county fair every year that we look forward to. So many events, Friday night lights with football, people who know each other, community leaders who are seriously invested in making our community better.
When Kim gets to the police station, she's told that the 38-year-old victim, who we will be referring to as Jane Doe, to protect her privacy, has just been taken to an interview room. Sean Great, the woman's abductor, is in the room next door, where he's been left to stew. Both had been driven directly from the House of Horrors to the police station to be interviewed. Jane tells Kim that she'd first met Sean Great at the Salvation Army Kroc Community Center.
You can have your noon meal there. There's a chapel in there. There's a skating rink, basketball courts, a spray park. It's just a community hub for people to use, and not just people who are underserved or underprivileged, but anyone in the community can walk in with no questions asked. There's a food pantry, or you can walk in and they'll have a hot meal for you every day.
Sean and Jane would share lunch together at the community center. They'd also play badminton and go on long walks around town a couple of times a week. Their conversations were centered around the Bible and life.
I knew that he had met her there. I knew that they would take walks together, but he would never walk in her apartment, didn't have his phone number. I knew Jane Doe walks all over the place. She'll walk miles and miles, and he would walk with her. I knew that she read the Bible to him frequently, and that he talked about having a childhood of where he did attend church, that he had some familiarity with the Bible.
But there was a huge difference between the two. Jane was sincere in her platonic relationship with Sean. She looked to him like a big brother, and she really wanted to share her love of the Bible with him, whereas Sean had ulterior motives. He was interested in having a romantic relationship with Jane, even though she'd been very clear from the start that her total focus in life was her religious beliefs. According to Jane, the afternoon of September 13th, after taking a long walk, Sean suggested that she come back to his place because he had a bag of clothes for her. And he also says they can continue their religious discourse. And Jane agrees, because back at his house, she wants to share some specific Bible passages with Sean. What Jane didn't know was that weeks before, Sean had broken into the dilapidated house on Covert Court in July, and he'd been squatting there ever since. The house still had some furniture, a TV, and electricity, but no water. When they got to the house, Sean would direct Jane to his room, where she would sit on his bed, reading her Bible, as he told her that he needed to get something in the kitchen. When Sean returns, Jane looks up and sees that his once friendly demeanor has completely changed. He walks over to the bed, snatches her Bible out of her hands, and snarls, "You're not going anywhere." Then he was on her, and Jane resists, pushing him away, kicking and thrashing, but Sean was really strong and ruthless. He punched her in the head and face, and then he begins to strangle her. She was completely under his control. For the next 3 days, Jane would describe being beaten and sexually assaulted, according to her, in every way imaginable.
When you saw Jane Doe, you've seen a lot of horrific things in your career at this point. Lots of sexual violence against women and children and people. What kind of state was she in when you walked through that door?
It's hard to gauge that with her. She's so profoundly and deeply religious that it's hard to get a baseline from her. This is a woman who truly believed she was stronger after this than before. It's true, but her concerns were not the typical concerns. Her concern was, she was in pain. She was fearful of him, wondering where he was, all those excited utterances type things that you would say, but her face just was so prominent through everything. Looking at her, I could see the physical signs of trauma, but emotionally what she had gone through, she was so able to articulate it. It's what's so shocking. I've had people in less condition than her not be able to communicate at all. To be hearing what she endured, and this all happened while she was attempting to read him the Bible. He grabbed her Bible and jerked it out of her hands and attacked her. It was just so profound, but compared to other victims that I've interviewed, thousands of them, she was in a class all of her own. She was different than typical. Not that any are typical. Everybody, everything's dynamic and every situation is different, but yet similar. Her even talking to me, she expressed concern for me investigating that, notifying me that what my purpose was, and would recite scripture. It was just unbelievable. It's almost something you can't even make up. It's so it sounds so theatrical or so sensational, and it's true.
What was your feeling as a woman, as a mother, as a human, and as an investigator when you're speaking to this woman? Like, what were you thinking? Because that is unique.
I think having a grown woman who doesn't have any physical contact with a man, who doesn't have a man's phone number in her phone, and that a man would not be permitted to walk through the threshold of her door. Having a woman who is so profoundly faith-based describe the most horrific sexual assault scenarios that you can almost imagine. Having her describe that just added a terrible layer. You can't help but to hear that and think, for her, Daniel in the Bible, she's like, that's my commitment, not to any man here on earth. She truly believes that. And so you can't help but to, while you're listening to her, think, why does this have to happen to her? How can this happen? But I also realized, even through my conversation with Sean Gray, she's so faith-based that he had a hard time killing her.
I remember when I first got access to the internet. And let's just say, in my head, when I was belting out my signature karaoke song, it looked a lot cooler than when I woke up the next morning and saw the video that I'd posted. Can you say, delete? And I didn't even grow up with the internet the way today's kids have. I can't even imagine what it's like for them. Well, actually, I can. Because I have kids of varying ages, and I know that navigating the traps of social media and the videos and other content at their fingertips, it's a lot, especially at a young age. The posting mistakes they don't even realize they could be making until it's too late, or content they inadvertently stumble into. Which is why I want to tell you about this lifesaver for both parents and kids, Gab. Gab is the leader in safe smartphones and watches for kids, teens, and tweens. With no social media apps, no internet browser, and GPS tracking, Gab devices were built from the ground up specifically for kids and teens, and are the way to keep your kids safely connected. Now, you might be thinking, why would my kid even want this tech if it's not loaded with all the good stuff? Trust me, Gab phones and watches have tech that kids actually want, unlimited talk and text, a music streaming app, and over 100 third-party apps that can be installed at parents' discretion. I love the smartphone because it allows my kiddo to have the tech, to be like everyone else, and I don't have to worry about him stumbling into something that he isn't ready to handle, which is why Gab is a game changer, and I can't recommend them enough. This is the absolute best time to check them out because right now, Gab is offering $25 off any device to new customers with no contract required. That's $25 off any Gab smartphone or smartwatch. Just go to gab.com/mischief. That's where you'll get the best deal. That's Gab, GABB.com/mischief. Gab.com/mischief.
It's back to school season and Clorox is donating 2 million disinfecting wipes to classrooms across America. Because back to school means things can get a little bit messy. Just ask kindergarten teacher Miss Gibson.
Give me just one Clorox wipe and I'm ready for glitter glue, exploded lunchbox yogurt, peanut butter handprints, runny noses, picking noses, rubbing noses.
Touching noses.
Thank you, Edward. Ooh, nap mats and lockers and tissue boxes. And
Clorox
scissors.
disinfecting wipes. Teacher's #1 wipe. Clean feels good. Based on unit sales data.
Subtle results, still you, but with fewer lines. Botox Cosmetic, out of botulinum toxin A, is a prescription medicine used to temporarily make moderate to severe frown lines, crow's feet, and forehead lines look better in adults.
Effects of Botox Cosmetic may spread hours to weeks after injection, causing serious symptoms. Alert your doctor right away as difficulty swallowing, speaking, breathing, eye problems, or muscle weakness may be a sign of a life-threatening condition. Patients with these conditions before injection are at highest risk. Don't receive Botox Cosmetic if you have a skin infection. Side effects may include allergic reactions, injection site pain, headache, eyebrow and eyelid drooping, and eyelid swelling. Allergic reactions can include rash, welts, asthma symptoms, and dizziness. Tell your doctor about medical history, muscle or nerve conditions including ALS or Lou Gehrig's disease, myasthenia gravis, or Lambert-Eaton syndrome and medications, including botulinum toxins, as these may increase the risk of serious side effects. For full safety information, visit BotoxCosmetic.com or call 877-351-0300.
See for yourself at BotoxCosmetic.com.
Get lost in the acoustic brilliance of 3D audio that surrounds you. Feel the embrace of the massage seats that adapt to your every move. Experience the warmth of a vehicle that welcomes you as you approach. We could tell you what makes a Lincoln SUV so extraordinary, but don't take our word for it. Take it on a test drive at the Lincoln Summer Invitation with exclusive offers on now, only at your local Lincoln retailer.
United Healthcare nurse Crystal checked in on a patient.
We do a routine call after surgery, and I could tell in her voice that she was struggling.
Crystal knew she needed help.
I knew that this is very serious. This is like septic. This is life-threatening.
And she knew just what to do.
And I called the hospital and said, she's coming in. Here are her labs.
And got her the help she needed.
I see my role at United Healthcare as a life-saving role.
Hear more stories like Crystal's at UHC.com. Benefits, features, and/or devices vary by plan area. Limitation and exclusions apply.
On the second night of captivity, Sean Great slept right next to Jane in a twin bed on the first floor. Before he went to sleep, he made sure to tie her legs and hands together to the bed so she wouldn't be able to escape. The next morning at around 6 a.m., Jane wakes up. He was still sound asleep next to her, so she plucked up the courage and slowly began to work at her bindings, to the point where she loosened them enough to be able to get free. And quietly, ever so slowly, she lifted herself from the mattress. Picking up his cell phone, she dialed 911.
When we rescued her, she had a ligature hanging from one of her arms, but she had been tied up, but she managed to free herself. And Sean Great had set a timer on his phone or an alarm to go off every few minutes. That way he wouldn't fall asleep. So she timed it. He would raise up or move around every time the alarm went off. She timed it to be able to access that phone. She initially thought she grabbed the phone and grabbed a taser that he had, and she actually grabbed it and it sounded the taser, which caused him to raise up, and then he laid back down. He was exhausted.
He was laying right next to her.
He was.
In this abandoned home that was it just, describe the conditions of the home.
Well, it's a home built, I believe, in the maybe 1870s. The original clapboard had been covered with siding, and then it's dilapidated. Inside, he set it up as if it's his home. He had a bed. He had the kitchen set up like with food. There was electricity in the home still. He just used it as if it was his home, but from the outside it just looked like a barricaded home. So it was a mess inside. He had accumulated trash and there was a profuse odor in the home. But when she called, she managed to get the phone. She turned the phone volume down. She had enough wherewithal to do that.
Kim explains why it took police so long to get to Jane Doe after she called 911.
Our officers are familiar with the two side-by-side homes that look similar, but they're boarded up. It doesn't even look like you can access them. They're boarded up. They're vacant homes. As a matter of fact, the door that she was rescued from has a stoop that's so low that the officer who went to the door, it wouldn't be an option to kick the door in. You can't raise your leg up. It's high. So it's not even a home that looks accessible.
The officers had circled the home and the one next door, trying to figure out what was going on. Was this a hoax? Were they at the wrong address because they were given incorrect information?
So officers responded to the area, 2 veteran officers and a rookie. And they went around both homes and they're like, well, these are boarded up homes. There's not even a way to get into the homes. And they were wondering, because we had recently switched dispatch from our own dispatch in our community to a central dispatch in the next county over. So there's this thought that potentially this was not even something that was happening here, or that it was a hoax. But I mean, they took it seriously, but you're wondering, like, where's this person talking about? So they kept looking, and finally the one officer, the rookie, Kurt Dorsey, decided that something was telling him to go back to a particular door on one of the 2 homes. So he walks back towards the side of the house in the back, and he looks up and sees a hand on the window.
The officer is literally right outside the door, but after 3 days of torture, Jane is too terrified to make any noise, knowing if her assailant, Sean Great, wakes up, there was no telling what he'd do to her.
At that point, it's barricaded. He's trying to get her to unbarricade the door, get to come out, which took some true convincing and coaxing, and to try to bring her to a place where she felt comfortable.
But just one quick question. So even though she knew that in the outside world, just outside the door, there was help, but she was so terrified of Sean Great that he had to be like, please, you can do this, like, just to get her to.
Yes, and Kurt Dorsey was the perfect guy to do that. He's very calm, he's steadfast, there's a calmness about him, super strong in his faith. She was petrified that if she made a noise trying to open the door, that it would wake Sean Great up, and he had already told her that he had intended to kill her. Had actually told her, you better find yourself a way out or I'm going to kill you. And he had attempted to, but wouldn't finish. She would strangle her, let go, strangle her, let go. She had been beaten, sexually assaulted multiple times.
So he was so exhausted from all the things that he'd done to her that he was like asleep, because that's how exhausted, not because he's worked a hard day, but just because of the thing he'd put her through.
That's right. It's been days of this. So he didn't sleep for days.
Finally, police were able to get inside the home where they found Jane nude and with a restraint still dangling from her wrist by the door.
It's locked. Are you at the door? Yeah, I am. She's at the door. She's on the door to the right-hand side of the house. Yeah. She's at the door on the right side of the house. She got out of the bedroom. Is there a window there?
Yeah, I'm looking out and they tell me to come back.
She said to
hurry.
She said to hurry up and come back.
Yeah, they can see me if they come to it.
The door is locked. No, the bedroom door and no doors in it. This one, it's locked. You can't get out. Can you unlock the door at all?
Come out. Hurry up. Get out here. Where is it? Bedroom, please.
Still sleeping? Yeah. Okay, they have her.
One armed.
Unarmed?
Yeah.
The abandoned home was filthy. After weeks of Sean Great squatting, piles of clothes and trash were all over. Officers went into the bedroom, and there, lying nude on a sheetless, stained and grimy mattress, 40-year-old Sean Great was face down asleep. Sean is given shorts to put on, and he's taken out of the home shirtless and barefoot, placed into the back of a police car, and brought down to the station, where he's left to stew in an interrogation room. Kim's police captain, David Lay, would conduct a brief interview with Sean Great, where he would admit that he had sexually assaulted Jane.
Yeah, we ended up having sex. Against her will? Well, they ended up, she didn't like it, and she was really beating herself up about it, the sex part. So, it looks like you might have hit her a couple times. I did, because I lost control.
Great would try to minimize the seriousness of his crimes by implying that Jane had an issue with guilt and suppressed lust. He would also try to minimize beating Jane Doe, saying that he'd never hit a woman before, that he wasn't violent, and that this was out of character for him. During this interview, the investigator would ask about Elizabeth Griffith, who also lived near the Croc Community Center. Elizabeth was a 29-year-old woman who went missing a month before. The dynamic between Great and the captain breaks down, and pretty quickly, Sean stops talking, and the investigator would leave the room. At around the same time, Kim is wrapping up her interview with Jane Doe, who needed to be taken to the hospital.
That interview was cut short because, when you get her away from that scene, you can see, once you sit her down, you can see that she's injured. So it was one of those scenarios where I needed to get a little bit of information, call for some help, and let's get her some medical attention.
It's at this point that Kim's captain tells her he wants her to go talk with Sean Great.
At that same time, Sean Great had been brought in to the police department and put in an interview room. I think my captain was talking to him simultaneously. Sean Great got agitated during that time. He said some things, but didn't say a lot. Afterwards, I came out of my interview, and my captain said, listen, go in there and talk to him, see if you can nail down the facts of what she told you, because you know what she said, and I don't know what she said. So can you go in there and nail that down, solidify what happened? And then the last thing he said before I walked in was, and while you're in there, see if he knows anything about those missing girls. I was aware that we were missing one girl from our town. We didn't know if she had met somebody online and took off, but no one had heard from her. There was a woman missing from the next county over who had visited my county, and she was missing. She had got her nails done. She had picked up some mulch for her yard and then had a flat tire. And she was last seen with a guy who helped her change her tire, and no one had seen her again. So these women did not know each other, did not have paralleling lifestyles.
At the time, the only thing Kim knows about Sean Great is what Jane Doe had just told her.
So when you walk into that room and you see Sean Great for the first time, you're sizing him up, he's sizing you up. What do you know about him? Do you see, it sounds like he has a history of some burglaries.
I didn't know any of his history because he's not from here, and we had no time. So timing is everything, and you can't delay in interviewing a suspect. My style is I'm going to interview a victim, and I'm going to, as quickly as I can, get to a suspect for that interview. In this case, he's already on station. We just arrested him. We have no time. It was kind of, I would call it a dry interview where I don't know. I don't know what all he's done. I only know that we had rescued a victim who he had sexually assaulted. So that he had restrained her, that he had drugged her, and that he had tortured her, and that some of it he had videoed. So I was aware of that. I had not seen the videos. I knew from her interview, I had a good baseline.
Kim has no idea, as she introduces herself to Sean Great, that this would be day 1 of an 8-day interrogation. Kim learned that Great's trigger point was lying. Either if people thought he was lying, or if he suspected they were lying to him. And like Kim's captain before, Sean Great would try to minimize his crimes. He admitted to abducting and assaulting Jane. But at the same time, he would try to blame her, saying that she had lustful desires and was just feeling guilty for that lust.
So I began to talk about Jane Doe. He initially placed a lot of blame on her. He tried to act like she was good with it and that she was just struggling with lust, that she was feeling lust, and he had to deal with that, almost as if he did her a favor. And I chose not to confront him on that. I would get the basic facts rather than to confront him on a point within 2 minutes that I know is not accurate. I knew that if I start my confrontation right off the bat, that he's going to shut down. So I thought I'll hear him out and I'll store these things in my brain, and then I'll bring them out systematically in layers to try to gain an accurate account of what took place. So I started out with talking about Jane Doe. Eventually, he opens up a little bit more and a little bit more.
Of course, Kim wanted to question Sean about the missing women. Elizabeth Griffith, who had gone missing on August 16th. She had last been seen walking along Main Street. And Stacy Stanley, who had last been seen at a gas station with a man who was helping to change her tire on September 8th. But Kim didn't ask about these women. She continues to bide her time, build rapport, setting the stage for those questions down the road.
The dynamic nature of an interview is you can't just go down a checklist. It becomes how to find out what his weaknesses are, or what can I talk about, what can I learn about him that would put him in a place where he'd feel comfortable to tell me everything. So I began to kind of delve into his history, his family, to try to find what matters to him, where he feels like he was let down, what his childhood was like, what's his skill set, what his thought processes are, where his faith lies. All of those things became a quest to learn those so that I could be armed as the conversation proceeded. And that's what I did.
And what did you find from his perspective about his life? It sounds like he had some real rage towards his mother.
He sure did. He had a lot of rage. You're spot on there. He talked about his mom as a child. And although he talked about going to church and having a lot of talk about religion, he also said that his mom had abandoned him at some point. And he talked about, and it's not something I have verified, but he told me that she was promiscuous, that she would bring different men into the house when he was like 4 years old.
And here's where it gets really challenging, because Sean Great's trigger point was people lying to him, or if he suspected that he was being lied to, which is hard to navigate around. Except Kim had created a very precious and intricate rapport that she'd painstakingly built in a short amount of time, and it was working. She could see and feel that he was buying into her.
The more he buys into me, the more leeway I have to confront. It's almost like with your own children where you can say things to them nobody else can say, or they can say things to you nobody else can say because you have standing to do so. In this case, I hate to use the word relationship, but there is a buildup of trust, which can happen very quickly, very quickly.
Kim is hours into talking with Sean Great about Jane Doe, his life, growing up. Meantime, investigators are still at that house of horrors waiting for a search warrant to be approved.
There was a team on site. They had just written a search warrant to go in based on her. So they were going to handle that, had not searched yet. And they had done some overall pictures, I believe, and they had swept the house when they first arrested him, they did a sweep of the house and didn't see anything or anyone. But as he's talking to me, and the team was at the house preparing to do the search warrant, while I'm talking to him, and this goes on for hours.
And Kim continues to talk with Sean Great.
What are you thinking of?
The house. No.
The house what?
The house where I came from.
Yeah? There's somebody in there?
Yeah.
Who is it? Is it Elizabeth? Where is she in there?
In the closet.
In the closet? Which closet?
Upstairs.
Upstairs?
Upstairs, there was a closet, camouflaged behind some hanging clothes. At the base of the door, there was a pile of worn plush toys. With all the piles of garbage and clothes, it was easy to miss. But when they pried open the door, they could see maggot casings on the locking mechanism. Elizabeth's naked, bound, and decomposing corpse would be found under a pile of clothes.
Opened her closet, threw a bunch of clothes in the closet and shut it. And I've just been killing a lot of flies. Opening the window, letting the flies out. It's crazy. I'm surprised it don't stink is what it does.
Yeah.
It soaks in, the smell soaking in everything else though. Clothes and things, I guess.
Are there any other girls in the house right now?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
One down in the basement.
Down in the basement? What's she in?
She's just down in the basement.
She's just down in the basement?
Yeah.
Tell me about it.
She just led me on to the point of there was no stopping and it really irritated me.
The remains of Stacy Stanley would be found under a pile of garbage in the basement. Next time on part 2 of House of Horrors, more victims.
I got to hear Sean Great tell me that we became complacent, that we have a lot of churches, but we became complacent. And I got to hear that criticism from here of our community, as if we played any part in him coming here and targeting our people.
Up next, Criminal Mischief bonus content. Here, my co-host Brandon Morgan and I discuss the case in more detail. And if you have a chance, please rate and review the show. It really helps. And as always, thanks for listening. From Cloud 10, Criminal Mischief is a pie-in-the-sky production recorded in the beautiful Pacific Northwest. We're produced by Brandon Morgan and myself. Music by Soundstripe. I'm Carolyn Osorio, your writer and host.